Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. Today you will learn how to bake pumpkin squares. These are quite similar to pumpkin pie but much easier and some say even more yummy. You will have a thick layer of shortbread topped with an equal layer of silky smooth custard that is spiced to what we believe is pumpkin perfection. This recipe is pretty easy and doesn't need a lot of complicated ingredients. Let's get to baking. You will need an 8-inch 20-centimeter non-stick pan or one that is greased generously with butter or sprayed with a cooking spray. Set that aside and then we're going to get started with our shortbread crust. In a large bowl we are going to cream together 1/2 cup of softened butter 113 grams with 1/4 cup of sugar 50 grams. You want to cream it until it's nice and smooth like this, and then we're going to add in some vanilla for flavoring. If you don't have vanilla you can skip this. 1/2 teaspoon or 2.5 milliliters. You are then going to add in your flour, and it's going to be 1 1/4 cups of flour. That's 187.5 grams. Now, if you don't want as thick of a crust, you can half this recipe and it'll be a much thinner crust. However, this is supposed to give you an equal amount of crust to filling. And you're just going to spread it out evenly and then press it down with your hands until it forms a nice compact layer. The harder you press it down, the better it will cut in the end. If you find the mixture is sticking to your hands too much when you're pressing it down, you can pop it in the refrigerator for about 5 or 10 minutes and then continue to press it into place. I do not recommend using glassware because glass can explode under extreme temperature changes. If you have to use glassware, you want to bring your crust back up to a room temperature before you put it into the oven. Chill this for 30 minutes or until firm. You can leave it overnight and finish it tomorrow. Next, please preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. And then you're going to bake your crust 15 to 25 minutes or until it has a nice light golden brown edge like this. Carefully set this aside, and now we are going to prepare the filling. You need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, that's 100 grams. To that, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 56 grams. Now you can mix and match this sugar if you like, but the brown sugar does give a nice depth of flavor. Next, we're going to add in some spices and salt for seasoning. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 grams, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 grams, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 1 gram, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, 0.5 grams. Now if you don't have allspice, you can use 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, or 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon of cloves. Leave it out completely. Use pumpkin pie spice as 1.5 teaspoons and omit all the other spices. You can play around with the spices, but these are the ones I personally recommend. Mix the sugar and spices together until they're well combined. Then we're going to add in some pumpkin. We're going to add in 1 can of pumpkin, that's 15 ounces. You want to use the pumpkin puree, you don't want to use the pumpkin pie filling. Then we're going to add in 2 large eggs, 100 grams, and we're going to mix this together briefly before we add in our milk. You can add the milk in at the same time, but sometimes the eggs don't incorporate well, so I recommend doing this in 2 steps. It's not that difficult either way. Now we're going to add in 1 cup of milk, 240 milliliters. I do recommend using whole milk if possible, but fat-free milk works well too. It'll just be a little bit thinner. Now we're going to get that pie crust from earlier and try not to make a mess. And then we're just going to pour this delicious pumpkin custard filling on top of that cold crust. But just in case it's not cold, I'm going to put on some oven mitts so I don't burn myself. Next, you want to bake this 35 to 45 minutes until it comes out and the center just slightly wobbles. When it comes to custard, the temperature of 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius works really well. You can get it higher than that, but if you go too much above it, you'll get those cracks and weeping, and you want to avoid that. Next, you want to cool this on a wire rack and then refrigerate it until it is firm. You want to chill it around 2 hours. Overnight is best for flavor enhancement. The pumpkin custard will marry into that shortbread crust overnight, and it really enhances the flavor. So I do recommend storing this overnight if possible. And then when you get it out the next day, it will have this really nice defined edge. You want to eat this within 2 hours. Refrigerate any leftovers. I don't even know if there will be leftovers. Anytime that I've given this to people, it disappears very quickly. If you like, you could top this with some candied nuts or some whipped cream. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy baking.